The break is over and fights are back. Derrick Lewis is headlining the UFC Nashville fight card, and Derrick Lewis is the all-time knockout king. But can he knock out this young up-and-coming prospect in Tallison Teixeira? My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC Nashville fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and DraftKings Fantasy Plays. But before we dive into that, let me show you my website. If you go to wewantpicks.com, you'll be met with this. This is our homepage. But if you're watching this video and you care about DraftKings Fantasy, all you need to do is hover over DraftKings in the menu, and you will see a full suite of tools that we have for you. First, we have a cheat sheet. Then we have an optimizer. We have a simulator, the slate sleuth, and the postmortem. Let's take a look at the simulator. The simulator is by far one of the most powerful tools that we have, and one of the most powerful tools in this space, period, end of story. What this does is it simulates every single fight on this card 100,000 times. Right now, we selected UFC Fight Night for Nashville, but if we go to UFC 318, you can see this is built out for the future. So if you want to get ahead of it, you can just go ahead and run the simulations, not only for Nashville, but for UFC 318 and future cards as well. And what this is doing is I click the Run Simulator button. This is literally simulating every fight on this card 100,000 times and giving you those outputs. Not only is it going to tell you who it thinks is going to win or lose, you can then drill down. How many DraftKings fantasy points, for example? This is looking at UFC 318, and it's expecting Max Holloway to score about 87 DraftKings fantasy points on average. If you think he's going to lose, then you have a different plot line. Win is a different plot line. If we scroll our way down, though, we have more than just DraftKings fantasy points. We have things like significant strikes. And you can take these numbers and bring them over to your favorite sports book and place bets. But we have more than just a simulator. We have the DraftKings Optimizer that will build DraftKings fantasy lineups for you. And this is a very run-of-the-mill optimizer, does everything you expect it to do. But if I want to build lineups for FanDuel, I can now do that as well. If we go back to DraftKings and you're watching this video and you don't really know what an optimizer is, it's okay. An optimizer builds DraftKings fantasy lineups for you. But if you don't quite know what these numbers are or how to make the adjustments, just hit this little slider at the top for beginner mode. And what this is going to do is walk you through. It's going to ask you logical questions, and you just answer those questions with a couple clicks of the button, and then it will build lineups for you. We have built the industry-first beginner mode, lowering the barrier of entry to daily fantasy sports. One of the last things I'll show you here is the postmortem. If we go back in time and look at the last event, which was UFC 317, we can take a look at everything meaningful for DraftKings Fantasy. We'll see every single fighter on the card, what their salary was, how many points they scored, and then we can see what that optimal lineup was. The best, the perfect, the most ideal lineup that anybody could have ever built for UFC 317 was Gregory Rodriguez, Terrence McKinney, Jose Delgado, Brandon Royval, Joshua Van, and Beneil Dariush. And this is a rare situation where you doubled up a fight, and doubling up a 3-round fight in this situation built you an optimal lineup. And if we work our way down, we can see what this optimal lineup was. We can see how many people had that optimal lineup, how many people tied for first, and all of those pieces. The moral of this story is everything you could ever want or need heading into a fight week is on my website. And it's only $10 to unlock all of it. And that's $10 for an entire month. You'll get UFC Nashville. You'll get UFC 318. You will get the fight night with Tatsuro Taira, and you'll get the Abu Dhabi fight card with Robert Whitaker. It's $10. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Don't be an absolute dork. It's insane what we offer at this price point. Let's go ahead and break this card down. UFC Nashville is a pretty fun fight card. A lot of people hating on it, but we're in an era right now where it's fun to just hate the UFC and pretend every fight card sucks, because I promise you, this UFC Nashville fight card doesn't suck. We have fun matchups. We have some pretty, on paper at least, exciting fights. There should be some bangers here. We have a couple of fights that do matter for the division. So anybody hating on this fight card or UFC 318 is just a dork that wants to hate on things because it's fun to put out a video that says, this sucks. UFC sucks now. Because hate gets more views than love. But let's go ahead and break down this fight card. We're going to open it up with Fatima Kline taking on Melissa Martinez. We've broken down Fatima Kline a couple of times already. She is coming off her first ever UFC win. She took her short notice UFC debut against Jasmine Jasudavicius. She had one takedown in that fight, but then outside of that, wasn't really able to find some success. And that's because Fatima Kline while she is very talented, she's long, she's lean, she's got this like hunchback arch striking style where she wants to fight at distance, but she's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu. She just wasn't going to out-grapple Jasmine Jasudavicius. She wasn't going to take Jasmine down in any meaningful capacity, and she wasn't going to be able to stop the takedowns. But then when she fought somebody actually at her level in Victoria Dudikova, she ran right over her, took her down, beat the shit out of her, got the control time, got the finish. Fatima Kline was able to showcase the takedowns, the grappling skills, the striking prowess. Fatima Kline is very good. She's priced accordingly at $9,900 right now. But if we take a look at her opponent in Melissa Martinez, it's not as easy of a fight as her last fight was, but she should be able to get this down. Melissa Martinez has power in the hands. If she connects, she can put a lot of people in a lot of bad situations. Offensively, she can grapple against the cage. Defensively, okay defense, right? The submission defense is pretty sound, but once you take her down, she's not going to have much off her back other than defending submission. So I do think Melissa Martinez loses this fight. She's tough. She's gritty. She'll get after it. She almost finished Alice Ardeline in that last fight, but I don't see that happening here. I do think Fatima Kline's going to come forward, get the takedowns, kind of just bully Melissa Martinez, potentially find a finish on the ground. If you think Fatima Kline finds a finish here, then you should have her in your DraftKings fantasy lineup. $9,900 is absolute insanity. That's wildly expensive. Those are Amanda Nunes numbers, but I do think there's a skill difference here, and the finish upside is certainly on the Fatima Kline side of this fight. That takes us to Mike Davis taking on Mitch Ramirez. Mike Davis coming off of one of the most embarrassing, one of the most ridiculous, one of the most you should have cut him on the spot based off of that performance type performances. Mike Davis just lost to Farasian where he pulled guard over and over again. Scratched his ass on the mat. Was just playing the jiu-jitsu game. He looked like a turtle upside down. But if we remove that fight from the breakdown, because let's say that was an anomaly, Mike Davis got bit by a deer tick. Mike Davis has Lyme's disease. And that's a bullshit excuse the community's making up for him. The only excuse I could potentially listen to and think that was valid is that in the locker room, apparently, that all the Americans were in on that fight card, they had just freshly painted it, and there were paint fumes, and it was fucking with some of the fighters. And maybe that's the case for Mike Davis. Or maybe he went in there a little injured because he's very inactive. He's injured all the time. You can see here he fights once a year if he's lucky. So maybe that was the situation. He hadn't fought in over a year, didn't really get the training and he thought he would, look good early. Things didn't go as smoothly as he thought they would, so he started pulling guard. But if I remove that Farasian fight from the equation and we say it was an anomaly, maybe coming off a little bit of a layoff, maybe the paint fumes, maybe that deer tick really did make it so he can't shoot actual takedowns and has to roll around on his back. If we remove that fight from the equation, Mike Davis is very good. He's got good offensive wrestling. He's got good striking. He's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu, and he can absolutely win a lot of fights, not just this one. Mike Davis is a very, very good fighter, and that's why he's priced at $9,800 here. He's fighting Mitch Ramirez. Mitch Ramirez is winless in the UFC. His first ever crack at it was through the Contender Series. He lost to Carlos Prates, respectable loss. His next crack was a short notice come up to Thiago Moises, also a respectable loss. In this Thiago Moises fight, he looked tremendous. This guy was huge for this weight class. He came out heavy with the leg kicks, wasn't able to succeed there. But Thiago Moises is a guy that has fought at the highest level of this sport for a very long time. So Mitch Ramirez is finally getting sort of a young prospect and not just one of these phenomenal 1%er type fighters. Mitch Ramirez is a big guy for this weight class. He wants to grapple. He wants to get you to the ground. He wants to play that game. And unfortunately, I don't think that will work for him. He's not going to be the better grappler here. Now, if Mike Davis's last fight was not an anomaly and he's just going to scoot his ass across the floor and play that game again, Mike Davis will lose this fight. He should be cut from the UFC immediately. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I do think Mike Davis will look like himself. He'll look like he used to look. I think he will get offensive takedowns. I think he will have that phenomenal jiu-jitsu advantage, which he had in his last fight as well. He almost finished Farasian with that calf slicer. So I do think we're going to get a Mike Davis performance that is worthy of this fight card. So Mike Davis is going to be the pick. I don't know if he's going to finish Mitch Ramirez. He should be able to. He should have a wild grappling advantage. He almost finished Farasian. So if you want to throw Mike Davis in there at $9,800, go for it. My only hesitation is that if I'm comparing $9,900 Fatima Kline and $9,800 Mike Davis, one of those fighters is coming off a good performance. The other one's coming off an absolute atrocity. Pick your side there. Then we have Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Valter Walker. Kennedy Nzechukwu looking for his third win at heavyweight. You can see here, he got knocked out by Justin Kobe at light heavyweight. Had the staring contest lost, a literal staring contest lost with Ovince St. Preux. That guy was 42 years old in that fight, lost that fight. Then he went up to heavyweight. He finishes Chris Barnett in the first round, finishes Lucas Bresky in the first round, and all of a sudden, heavyweight's looking pretty good for Kennedy Njokuani. Kennedy Njokuani's massive. He's 6'5", so going from light heavyweight to heavyweight, not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. He's got the frame for it. He's a long guy. He's got powerful striking, decent takedown defense. The only real knock on him is that he can be in a staring contest sometimes. He's very gun-shy, doesn't truly let his hands go, and that can be a problem in some fights. And we'll find out in this fight, because I think the only thing he's going to need in this fight is takedown defense, because he's taking on Valter Walker. Valter Walker is Johnny Walker's younger brother. He's massive. He's 6'6". He's a big dude. His UFC debut was against Lucas Bresky. He had his tits out. His stomach was jiggling. This guy was a fat bag of marshmallows. He made me look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then he lost the weight after that embarrassing performance. He looked great just a few months later against Junior Tafa. And then a few months after that, he looked great against Don'Tale Mayes. And yes, these were very quick first-round submissions, back-to-back heel hook wins. First time that's ever happened in the UFC. But the reality is, he got embarrassed, he got exposed, and then he put in the time, made the changes, and he looks good now. He looks physically fantastic, and if he gets this to the ground, the gap on the ground is tremendous. This guy is huge. He wrestles like a Russian. He's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu. I do think Valter Walker wins this fight. I think he's a great underdog here at $7,400. If he does what he did in these last two fights, he was an underdog against Tafa, scored 112. He was the favorite against Mayes, and he scored 98 points there. He needs to get Kennedy down, though. If he doesn't get Kennedy down, if he's in a striking match, the gap on the feet is going to be too wide for him to cover. I do think Valter wins. I will have him in my lineup. That takes us to Eduarda Moura and Lauren Murphy. Listen, I think Eduarda Moura dominates here. I do not think she's worth $9,500. Eduarda Moura's got some solid grappling. She'll come forward. She'll just throw some haymakers, try to get you to the cage, drag you to the ground, and work from there. You can see she scored 3 takedowns in her last fight, 5 takedowns in the fight before that, 3 takedowns in her UFC debut, but she doesn't score a lot of points. Obviously, in her UFC debut against Montserrat Ruiz, she scored 128 points. But in her last win, in November, she only scored 66 points in a win, and this could look like that. Land some solid strikes, have a few takedowns, not score that well. Eduarda Moura should win here. She's younger, she's strong, she's got good grappling, she's got good striking, and she's fighting a 40-year-old woman who was never very good in Lauren Murphy. But what Lauren Murphy is tough. Each individual skill, I actually think Eduarda Moura is better. I think Eduarda is the better wrestler, the better grappler, the better striker. She obviously has youth, speed on her side. But Lauren Murphy is tough. She grinds. She's gritty. She's strong. She will take a beating. The loss to Jessica Andrade was one of the worst beatings I've ever seen. I mean, the absolute beating she took was insane, but she kept coming because she's very, very tough. If we look at the level of competition, it's not even comparable. Lauren Murphy fought for a title, then beat former world champion Miesha Tate, and then lost to former world champion Jessica Andrade. So Lauren Murphy has been fighting the much better fighter, but she's coming back after a few years away. She's coming back at 40 years old, and she was never very skilled. She was just always very tough. Eduarda Moura should win this fight, but there is no way I'm spending that money. She's not going to finish Lauren Murphy. She's not going to do it. The over 2.5 makes sense. DraftKings fantasy-wise, you're not going to get the points that you need out of Eduarda Moura for her to be worth that $9,500. Then we have Jake Matthews taking on Chidi Njokuani. Chidi Njokuani is 6'3" at welterweight. And in order to make that weight, he's got chicken legs. He's got little baby chicken legs, but he's very long, and he uses those legs to throw kicks, keep you at distance. He's got powerful hands. He's very fast. He's very strong. Chidi Njokuani is a powerful striker who can sleep you. We've seen that in several fights in the UFC, including his last fight against Elizeu Zaleski. What I will say about that last fight is he was rocked. Chidi was in trouble. He was able to recover, find his own finish, but that was against a 40-year-old Elizeu Zaleski. Chidi Njokuani is very, very dangerous, but that danger does fade over the course of the fight because he is just too damn big for this weight class, and he cuts too much weight. Chidi Njokuani will be fighting Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews is a bit frustrating because he's got very good wrestling. He doesn't always use it. You have to go back to 2020 to find a fight where he had more than one takedown. But if you run through Jake Matthews' fight career, he's had some solid performances. He beat Francisco Prado, who's very good, but there was a clear size difference there because Francisco was going up in weight. He beats Philip Rowe, He loses to Michael Morales, but that was a 29-28. Michael Morales is an absolute beast, and obviously he smokes flowers, but that dude shouldn't be in the UFC. Jake Matthews has good technical striking. Jake Matthews is pretty durable, and Jake Matthews has good wrestling as well. I think Jake wins this fight. The problem is this $8,000 price point. While he is a dog and he's priced accordingly, he doesn't score that well. His last 2 wins would not have covered the underdog salary. He beats Phil Rowe, scores 77. He beats Francisco Prado, scores 64. And that Francisco Prado win was very straightforward. It was clear that he won that fight, and he still barely breaks 50 points. So Jake Matthews is going to be my underdog pick. I have a bet on him in real life here because I think he can out-wrestle. I think he can hang in the striking. He certainly has the cardio and the durability. But I don't see how Jake Matthews is going to score this many points because he's not going to come in here and finish Chidi and Njokuani like he did Darius Flowers. Darius Flowers is not good. Chidi actually is. Then we have Chris Curtis taking on Max Griffin in the featured fight of the evening. Chris Curtis is the better fighter. Chris Curtis has great counter-striking. Chris Curtis is a very good fighter. I like Chris Curtis quite a bit. I've seen him fight live. I actually saw him fight live in his last fight against Roman Kopylov, and that obviously didn't go his way. That was a competitive fight. It was 1-1 going into the third. You could have said it was 2-0, Chris, but I had it 1-1 going into the third. And then obviously with 1 second left, the ref calls that fight. Chris Curtis was very, very wobbled, but not quite out. The reality is Chris Curtis is a welterweight. He's had his entire UFC career at middleweight because he stepped up on short notice when he fought Phil Haas in the UFC debut, knocked a couple of people out and stayed there. He's a phenomenal counter striker. He's very strong. He's got fantastic takedown defense. Chris Curtis is a very good fighter, but he's 37 years old. He'll be 38 next week, and he's going down in weight to welterweight. He's obviously been at this weight class before, but I don't love an old man, which in fight years, 37 is very old, cutting that much additional weight. There's a 15-pound gap between 170 and 185, and he's going to lose that 15 pounds. And it's not 15 pounds of just like cut the weight because he already had the cut to get to 85. It's true weight loss. 15 more pounds since January. There's a lot of questions here. I'm worried about it. I think Chris Curtis wins this fight. I am not going to put him in my DraftKings lineup, though, because even in these fights that he's winning, like Drag Him Out Wars with Calvin Gastelum, he didn't win that fight, but add 30 to it. It's 60 points. He didn't get that done. Marc-Andre Barriault, he did win that fight, 87 points. That's not going to cover this salary, but if you take a look at Max Griffin is good. Max Griffin is just a really tough guy. He hits pretty hard. He almost knocked Ramiz Brahimai's ear off a few years ago, but that's Max Griffin, right? Max Griffin can mix things up. He's got a couple of takedowns in his UFC career. He'll get after it. He's tough. He's durable. He hits very hard, but he's also getting up there in age. Max Griffin is a true welterweight, as is Chris, but as I mentioned, Chris has been up at weight class for a while. I just don't think Max is going to be the better overall striker. Will he have power? Absolutely, but I don't think he's going to be able to hang with Chris's slick counter striking. So assuming that Chris is in shape and the weight cut is not a problem for him, his counter striking should be unbelievable. Max is going to sit on these big shots. Chris is going to block, fire back, and Chris will win a technical decision. I do not see this fight being a high-scoring fight on either side. I don't think Max is a phenomenal dog, but if you think that the weight cut's too much for Chris and he's going to be a little chinny here, and Max obviously very clearly has that power, then you're going to have a wild ride at $7,100, but I am on the Chris Curtis side. Then we have Junior Tafa taking on Tokkos. In the first fight of the main card, I'm staying far away from this fight. Both these guys suck. Like, they're both not very good. Junior Tafa was a good striker who came over to MMA, didn't learn any other skills, can get taken down pretty easily. That's it. He also was fat and sloppy. Luckily for him, he's got a mirror in his house. He saw his tits jiggling. He went down the stairs a little too fast, felt the bounce, said, I got to lose some weight. He is going down to light heavyweight. When I watched his last fight against Sean Sharaf on short notice, mind you, Sean Sharaf, a UFC debut on short notice, this fight goes to the second round. Junior Tafa can barely breathe, finally finds a knockout. He was getting tagged in that fight. Junior Tafa is not very good. My notes for that fight were sucks and fat. He fixed the fat. But does he still suck is the big question here. He's $600 in DraftKings Fantasy. You're going to need him to find a finish here, and I don't know if he will. And yeah, Tucos is winless in the UFC. He has not found a win yet, but let's look at who he's fought. Omar Sy. And yeah, that guy's a French pussy that screwed all of us just a few weeks ago, but he is still a physical specimen, an absolute beast, and a wild athlete. He's then went out there and lost a decision to Sterling. What the hell is Sterling's first name? Something Sterling. Oh, I forget Sterling's first name. I'm not even looking at my notes, so Look at me. Angelo on vacation, no notes needed, a couple Bloody Marys deep after breakfast on a Thursday. Here we go. Listen, the reality is, what the hell is Sterling's name? It's not, I mean, obviously, Aljamain's the only name going in my head. You guys are watching this, screaming the name at your computer too. I am going to look it up. Why? It's going to drive me nuts if I don't see it. Sterling. Holy shit. Where is it? Sterling. Navajo Sterling. Navajo Sterling is supposed to be this big deal, this phenomenal striker in his own right, coming out of that same camp as Izzy and Carlos Ulberg and all them. So Navajo Sterling was able to tag him up. He did get a few takedowns along the way. Tucos is very durable. And obviously, at this point, it took me 9 minutes to get Navajo Sterling's name, and then we got it. And I'm not going to use him as the bar here because I don't think he has quite been the person that they said he was going to be. But Navajo Sterling has good takedown defense, and he's still got taken down 3 times by Tucos. I do think Tuco wins this fight. I think he can get the takedowns. And on the ground, Junior Tafa is absolutely useless. The problem is Tuco is winless in the UFC. Junior has taken the time to lose the weight. He physically looks absolutely fantastic. And if he's worked on the takedown defense, or if losing the weight has improved the cardio and he can stay on that bike and use the range and use the good boxing to piece up Tuco, Junior can absolutely win this fight. Tuco can win this fight. I am picking Tuco to win, but I'm not going to throw Tuco in my lineup. And even if on your Junior side, Tuco's got a chin on him. I don't think he's a guy who's just going to get finished quick. So I'm going to avoid this fight entirely, even though Tuco is the underdog pick. Then we have Austen Lane taking on Vitor Petrino. Austen Lane is a beast. He's massive. I think he's 6'7", former NFL player, an athletic guy. He's big. He's got no chin whatsoever. This guy's a 1% athlete with no chin, and that's been a problem for him. Every single one of those 6 losses is by finish. He's a guy that's been knocked out a handful of times. In his wins, he comes forward. He looks to grapple more than anything, and that's because he doesn't want to get hit, so he's going to sort of be huge and lean on you against the cage, drag you to the ground. Obviously, he beat Robelis de Spain as a very big underdog, was able to get that done, but that was with the grappling. If we look at his opponent, Vitor Petrino, this guy is struggling for a win as of late. He was an undefeated prospect, 11-0, gorgeous. This guy is handsome, very handsome. And if you're going to comment gay, then you are afraid of handsome men. So I don't know how you watch these videos looking at me. Probably have a bone. Listen, Vitor Petrino is a good fighter. He's got a monster left hook. He's a physical specimen. He's not quite technically sound just yet. He literally has to look at his corner and listen to his coaches while they work him through moves and positions. But he's physically there. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's an athlete. He has that hand speed, the hand power. He's moving up to heavyweight. They pushed him a little too fast too soon. They thought Anthony Smith was too over the hill. So Vitor Petrino got his legs kicked a few times, shot a bad takedown, got subbed in a guillotine. It is what it is. Then they give him Justin Jacoby. He's winning that fight. He won the first round, or the second, I forget. It was 1-1 going into 3. He was very clearly winning the third round. Then he gets a little too comfortable, a little too showboat. He rushes in, eats a big one, gets put out. So he loses 2 fights in a row by finish at light heavyweight, moves up to heavyweight. I actually do think he wins here. The problem is he's a guy that just got finished. We don't quite know what the takedown defense will truly be. He's fighting a 6'7" monster of a human that's going to try to drag him to the ground. I think Vitor can find the chin. I think Vitor can knock out Austen. But I also wouldn't be shocked if Vitor is just held on the ground. Just dragged to the ground, held there, with a 6'7" monster of a human laying on top of him. So Vitor is going to be the pick. And if you're building multiple lineups, you need some exposure to him because Austen Lane gets finished and gets finished often. And Vitor does have that power in his hands. We have seen that a few times over. Vitor Petrino is going to be the pick. This does feel like one of the sketchier of the favorites on this card. Then we have Morgan Charriere taking on Nate Landwehr. The last 3 weeks, there's been a fighter that I was not very high on. And then I slowly, as the week has gone on, got more and more confident in that fighter. I did it with RoboCop in the safety parlay. I forget who it was the week before that and the week before that. But there were fighters at the beginning of the week, I'm like, I don't know, man. And then by the end of the week, I'm like, yeah, this person's going to win. And this week, that is Morgan. Because my biggest issue with Morgan is the fact that he's French, honestly. Omar Sy, that French pussy let us down. Kevin Gisette, that French pussy let us down. And I'm sorry if you're French. I just had a delicious croissant for breakfast. So I'm sorry. Your food is good. The language is beautiful. You guys are not fist fighters. You're just not. Morgan might buck that trend, though, because he is fast, he's athletic, he is smooth, and he does have dog in him. The dude has 11 wins, which is a shit ton. But a couple of those are really close decision losses, and all of them are dog fights. Even that fight to Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel is just itty-bitty, and I hate that Nathaniel dropped Morgan in that fight, but Morgan didn't quit. He didn't give up. He didn't turn his back. He didn't just sit there in a staring contest. Kevin Gisette and Umar Sy are French pussies because they don't actually engage. They just stare at you. That's not Morgan. Morgan will actually fight you. He will actually fight you. I am confident at this point during the week that Morgan gets it done. I have picked him every video for 2 weeks, but now I'm outright confident, and I'm getting the French are soft out of my head just a little bit. But it's not going to be an easy task. He's fighting Nate Landwehr. Nate, the train, is just going to get in your face. What's Nate good at? Being tough. Like, he's not a phenomenal wrestler. He's not a great striker. Nate just has some power in his hands, and he is tough, and he will just get after it. He is not afraid to get after it. And that's what we're going to have here. We're going to have a much better technical fighter in Morgan Charriere dealing with a little chihuahua. Just and that's what Nate Landwehr is going to do. Just be growling and biting and running forward. If Nate Landwehr is going to try to grind a win out, he could. But I think the problem is going to be that Morgan is quite literally the better fighter everywhere. So Nate is durable. Nate is grindy. He did just get finished by the Korean Superboy. Knocking out Emmers was solid. But before that, the Ige fight, fine. Ige is a different level than most. And if you run through the history, Nate Landwehr does have some very good wins. But it's, the French is creeping back into my brain. I'm just going to stick with Morgan here. Morgan is the better fighter. That fight with Chepe was a dog fight. Even in his loss to Nathaniel Wood, that was a dog fight. And obviously Nate's a dog himself, but I just watched Nate get finished. Nate is not the better fighter. I got to go Morgan here. And as far as exposure and DraftKings lineup is concerned, no. Because I don't think he's going to be able to finish Nate. Nate's a pretty tough, durable guy. Then we have Steve Garcia and Calvin Kattar. This is the hardest fight on this card to pick, and that's because Steve Garcia is on a 5-fight knockout win streak. If all we did is look at his recent fights, 110 points, 108, 95, 94, 133, Steve Garcia is moving forward and beating the shit out of people. He outdogged Chase Hooper when Chase Hooper was just a little boy, not quite a man. He beats Nerd and Beak in a back and forth, had some grappling. The Mel Costa win has aged very, very well. The Choi win is okay. The Kyle Nelson win doesn't matter. Kyle Nelson's been finished 100 times. And that's the problem here. Steve Garcia is beating the brakes off of people that he should be beating the brakes off. He's got power in his hands. He can wrestle as well. I need to see this guy fight a little longer, though, because I don't think he's going to come in here and just spark Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar's very good. Calvin Kattar's a very good striker. He's got technical boxing. His hands are always where they're supposed to be. And yes, this dude is 1-4 in his last 5, but let's run through it. Top 10 ranked Yusuf Zalal. Former world champion, top 5 ranked Aljamain Sterling. I don't know where Allen is in the ranking, but if it's not top 10, it's top 15. Josh Emmett, top 4 in the weight class. He's losing to some of the best fighters on the planet, and he's losing close fights. The Allen fight, you're going to see KO, TKO on here. That is not what happened. The dude blew out his knee. So that fight can be removed entirely. He literally blew out his knee on like the first kick in the second round or some bullshit like that. Competitive fight, and then a freak injury. So he lost to Yusuf in a fight where he took the 3rd round. He loses to Aljamain Sterling. Fine. Aljo's a great wrestler, and he just could not defend the takedowns. And then he loses to Josh Emmett in a 5-round dog fight. And Josh is just not a human being. Ilya Taporia couldn't even put Josh away. So the reality is Calvin Kattar is a good striker with very sound defense and good busy offense. I am going to pick Steve Garcia to win here. But Calvin is by far the biggest test of his career, and I am not confident enough in either one of them to put them in a lineup because Steve could, maybe he gets his 6th finish in a row. I doubt that very much. So then we're going to end up with a decision. Steve may or may not lean on the wrestling. Like, there's just too many nuances here. I'm going to leave it alone. Then we have the co-main event of the evening, Gabriel Bonfim taking on Wonderboy Thompson. I'm going to pick Bonfim here. Bonfim is a very good fighter. And yes, Nicholas Dalby was able to beat him, but let's not forget what happened in that fight. Gabriel Bonfim almost finished Nicholas Dalby, like beat the shit out of him, almost finished, literally punched himself out because he almost finished Nicholas Dalby. And then Nicholas Dalby, because he's got that crazy breathing technique, has superhuman longevity, insane cardio, was able to survive and end up finishing Gabriel Bonfim. Since then, we've seen a very different Bonfim, a little more controlled against Angelo, but the striking was on point. He had the takedown. The Chaos Williams win was spectacular. He waited for Chaos to plant, ducked right under it, shot a beautiful takedown, and got that incredible submission. Gabriel Bonfim is very good. He's got good boxing, good jiu-jitsu, and good wrestling. And the only thing he might need here is that good wrestling, because as much as we love Wonderboy, and as he probably is the best-looking dude at this age in this sport, never got the takedown defense. Just cannot defend the takedowns. And that is going to be a problem for him here, because Wonderboy, as you know, has that karate style. He manages range incredibly well. And I think he's actually going to be winning a lot of these striking exchanges. And that is why Bonfim's going to go to the wrestling. And once Bonfim goes to the wrestling, Wonderboy's not going to have an answer for it. So Gabriel Bonfim is going to be the pick. He is going to be in my lineup because the wrestling does score really well, and there is a submission upside there. We just watched Rakhmonov submit Wonderboy, and Wonderboy was just knocked out bad by Joaquin Buckley in a fight that he was winning. 42 years old, like, this is not a sport for the elderly. And then we have the main event of the evening, Tallison Teixeira taking on Derrick Lewis. Whoever you think wins, put in your lineup, because whoever wins this fight is likely going to win by finish. Tallison Teixeira is a tough guy to break down because he's physically a specimen. The dude is tremendous. He's fast. He's powerful. But he hasn't fought anybody any good. Oh, you beat Justin Tafa? All right, great. It was a bit impressive that he knocks out Justin Tafa, considering Justin has a pretty good chin, but Justin's a little older at this point. In his Contender Series fight, Tallison Teixeira was actually tagged up quite a bit. Tallison Teixeira has also beat a bunch of dog shit fighters who their combined record is 29-39. His opponents have far more losses than wins, so it's hard to look at somebody like Tallison Teixeira coming off of one single quality win in an actual UFC fight and then picking him against the all-time knockout king. Derrick Lewis is quite literally that, the all-time knockout king. Derrick Lewis is also not good. And I'm sorry, because he's phenomenal on the microphone. He's obviously somebody that we all love. And you know that one of his fights is likely going to end up by knockout. Obviously, John Almeida just held him down the entire time. And the fight with Francis Ngannou was quite literally one of the worst fights anybody has ever seen in history. But Derrick Lewis is just not very good. He quite literally just sits and waits. Power, 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 power. Big right hand. It lands or it doesn't. We did see that flying knee out of him against Rodrigo de Lima. The reality is Derrick Lewis can knock anybody out. He can knock out a horse. I'm in Idaho. He can knock out a buffalo. But he's not the more technically sound fighter in almost any of his fights. Obviously, with that knockout over Curtis Blades, he's just sitting on the uppercut, bang, cracked him on the way in with a sloppy takedown. But for the most part, it's either knockout with the right hand or nothing. I don't quite think he's going to find the knockout here, but if he does, who the hell is going to be surprised? Certainly not me. Pick your side. Whichever one you think wins, go ahead and throw that person in your lineup, because they're going to score a bunch of points, because it will be by finish. Guys, that's the lightning fast on vacation Angelo breakdown. Do us a solid. Support the boys. Go to WeWantPicks.com. Become a premium member. You will unlock every single thing on this website instantly. You're looking at the website right now. We're still on that post-mortem that I showed earlier. If I go to analysis, we have fight picks, we have bets, we have round line leans, we have top picks. Artem has his own page because he's breaking down far more than just UFC. Under tools, I have data analyzer. We have a full data model, a line movement tracker, a prop hunter. We have raw notes and the tape index if you like to do your own research. Under DraftKings, we have a cheat sheet, an optimizer, the simulator, the slate sleuth, and the post-mortem. PickGPT is an artificial intelligence that we have built that picks fights based solely off historical data, and you get the full breakdown of the fights and then the betting system we've designed around those artificial intelligence picks, and then a full AI report summarizing all of it. We have FanDuel, Prize Picks, Underdog. We have more than you could ever want or need. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top.